Perfect. So I've spent my career and my work life working in big businesses like Microsoft and the private sector. I've spent my time in small businesses that are just starting out or scaling up. I've spent my time in not-for-profits and also multiple levels of government. Now I know what you're all thinking. Victoria, how have you done so much at such a young age? But you can't see the wrinkles from over there. But when I think about all of the different experiences, and thank you for turning down the lights just as I made that joke, that was good. When I think about that, startups has been my most favourite phase. I've learnt the most in startups. And what I'm going to be talking to you about today is how to think like a startup founder. Whether you start a startup, whether you work in a startup, or whether you just bring that startup mindset into your everyday life and your experiences. There's three things that I love about startups. Number one is I feel like startups and founders are the closest to real problems. They're always at the very cold face and the grassroots of a problem that is keeping them up at night. Whether that be, why does homelessness exist? Why do people not have clean drinking water? Why is there poverty still in the world? Why are these basic things still existing? And these people, social entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs, stay up at night thinking this shouldn't exist. And you stay close to that problem and you speak to customers and people and beneficiaries that are having these problems. And I think great businesses, as they scale, are the ones that stay close to customers, close to the people that are having the problem and able to keep very close to them, rather even when they're so big. The second thing I love about startups is that you wear a number of hats. One time you're doing finances, the next time you're putting paper in the photocopier, the next time you've got to be the head of marketing, and you're wearing all of these hats. Why is that great? Is because today and tomorrow's workforce is looking for generalists and people that can adapt to different ways of thinking, that are not in silos and are actually able to apply their thinking to different scenarios. And startups give you that startup thinking. And you need to enforce generalist thinking in your life. Number three is that it's sink or swim. Most startups don't have a long runway unless they've got big VC backing, and to get there, they're going to have to do some hard yards first. And so every day you're turning up, how can I make the next dollar? How can I be more innovative in what we're doing? Rather than lots of resources, lots of time, I'll do it next week. And those three things, whether you're working in a small business or a large business, will set you up for success and help you move forward. So I wanted to take you on a little bit of a journey to my entrepreneurial journey. So the first one I started was Citizen of the Planet. And I was thinking, there's so many fast fashion brands. And put your hands up, we all have bought them. We know I want to buy a $20 shirt because I don't have $100 to buy it. But I wanted to start a brand that was eco-conscious, that had circularity at the forefront. And this was years ago, before circularity was even a thing. And the three things I learned, the first thing was I started this out of a passion for what I wanted to see in the world. I didn't want to see fast fashion obliterating the impact, the environment and increasing landfill and that kind of thing. So it started from a passion. So think about, what is a passion that you might start your business from. The second thing is that I made a lot of mistakes, and I just want to say making mistakes is now my most favourite thing to do. It is the best thing to do because it's where you learn. It is where you learn the biggest lessons, and it gives you the greatest leap forward. So don't worry about being perfect or making mistakes, because this will actually get you to your zone of genius later down the track. And so as long as you're failing fast, you may have heard that language, then making better decisions based on that failure, that's all you can do. So I learned that the hard way in terms of Citizen of the Planet. And the third one was I looked at this and thought, I want to eradicate landfill and fast fashion. So should I be reaching for bigger impact? And this actually caused me to create my second, wind this business down and create my second one. I was thinking I could sell 5 eco shirts at the Glebe markets, or I could help fashion brands actually implement sustainable practices at a greater level when they're selling millions and billions of these types of things. So then I moved on to starting Relievables, and I went through an accelerator and won a bunch of awards. I created it as a social enterprise, which means that you're investing more into solving this problem than taking profits out of it. So this was really for small businesses, and it was about helping them manage their sustainability practices in a platform. Now, I made 3 mistakes. The first one was I was way too early to market for what the customers needed. What does that mean? I built the wrong solution. So in startups, you need to validate with customers, I'm having this problem, are you actually having it? And do you need it solved in the way that I need it solved? And is that scalable so that we can actually make money and make revenue? And so I built the wrong solution because I didn't validate, or I validated with too much bias, people telling me, that's great, but not actually handing over their credit card. So it's really important to do customer validation and build the right solution, not what you think is right, but what the customers need. Number 2, was that I built the wrong features. So people came on board and then they left. The churn rate was too high because those features were not the right thing. At that point in time, they didn't need a platform. They were super happy being in Google Sheets with something else like that. It wasn't the right features and the right solution. And number 3, I was trying to do this all by myself. I was pregnant at the time, trying to get venture capitalists. That was never going to happen, and I understand why now. But I didn't build a team around me. One that were diverse, one that had different skills to me. So if you're a commercial founder, you need a tech founder or sales founder or someone else. Not even a founder, just advisors around you. I didn't build that team, and so when I had my baby, and then when I needed to assist mum, and I actually became a carer for my mum who was diagnosed with early onset dementia, there was no one to push my business forward. So the idea was great and it was too early, so maybe it would have held out to the right timing, but I hadn't put those guardrails in place to make it work, to be able to anticipate life's problems, which is very real for all of us. So really that's what led me for 4 years, gave away the storyline. That's what led me for 4 years to really become a carer. So over the next 4 years, I was a carer in 4 different scenarios. I had my little one, who's now 3, my mum, who was diagnosed with early onset dementia, who's now in late stage dementia. My dad had mental health challenges, which were only exacerbated by grieving what my mum was going through. And I actually also had a friend, a close friend, whose family was overseas, and she went through a 6-week psychosis in a mental health ward, and so I was her carer for that. So over those 4 years, true to my entrepreneurial spirit, I observed all of these problems that happen to carers like myself that shouldn't happen. It was fragmented, there was overwhelming experiences, there was too much stuff happening. So I've created Carers & Co. The most compelling thing about Carers & Co is that it's lived experience. So when you're thinking about creating a business, what is something that keeps you up at night? What's a problem that you've lived with that you can talk to with passion and gumption? And that is the most compelling thing in terms of Carers & Co, which is a platform, maybe or maybe not, we're still working that out, true to validation, who helps carers, unpaid carers. The second thing is, because of all my failures beforehand, so all of the things that I've tried and learned, and the wisdom that I've learned, and the people and organisations that I've collected within my network over all of these different attempts at startups, I'm moving at pace because I've got connections and networks and I understand how to do things. So this is what I say when it doesn't matter that you fail or something doesn't work out, because you pivot to the next thing, and every experience is giving you the strength and the ability to move faster in the next time. And the third thing is knowing what happened to me with Relievables is I'm surrounding myself with the right people from day one, anticipating anything that should happen, that there's guardrails. And number 2, we're partner-led. So a lot of these social problems, no one organisation is ever going to solve it. They're wicked problems, and any company who thinks we're going to be the answer to it all is unrealistic. And so you really need to think about, what is the ecosystem that I'm building to help me build partners? Now, all of these things apply to anything that you're doing in an enterprise, personal life. This is what we call startup thinking and the founder mindset. And there's 3 things that you can bring into any of the scenarios, or creating your own startup yourself. So the first one is to be curious. No matter how many times you've done something, no matter how many degrees you've got, no matter how many titles or seniority, no matter how much seniority you have, you always need to stay curious, because you can learn something from anyone. And if you're open, then you can pull those learnings into creating a better product and being a better person. So staying curious and asking questions. When you're doing customer validation, it's kind of like being a friend. You kind of want to be listening more than you're talking, because you want to understand. And that's the same with building a business and building a startup. The second thing is being brave. You're probably going to get knocked back a lot of times. I read a stat the other day, Canva turned up to probably over 100 investor meetings. No. I mean, we know where Canva's, the state of Canva now. So everyone's going to get rejected, but it's about believing in your product, believing in the passion, and keep pushing forward and being brave and being okay with rejection. Rejection is great. You just got to find the right person. And the third thing is being resilient. So being adaptive, being able to pivot. If anyone's a type A personality where you've like, I've got to have my structure and my processes, startup land is very, very challenging, because you've got to be okay with dealing with ambiguity and being in the grey. And actually dealing with ambiguity is one of the top skills that employers are looking for going into the future, because our world is very ambiguous and uncertain, and you being able to deal with that and navigate it and change things on the fly is really important. So if any of this resonates and you want to take the startup mindset into your world or into starting a startup, start with real problems. What keeps you up at night? What do you think, that shouldn't exist? That enrages me that happens. Or this is really clunky, that doesn't work. Take a notebook and write it down and start to think about, how often am I seeing this problem? And chatting and having open conversations with people. The second thing is take small steps. So it doesn't matter, there's a saying that I love, which is, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. You don't need to work out how you're going to get to the end, how you're going to get the $1 billion valuation, how you're going to become a unicorn. It's about taking one small step to get the extension of the runway. And the third thing is building the right people around you. So making sure that you've got the diversity, the yin to the yang, and making sure that there's enough people in your network, whether it's in your startup, in your friendship circle, in your team at work, whatever that looks like. So I leave you with this. Don't worry about it being the right time. Don't worry about having the right ideas, and don't worry about if you've got the right skill sets. Start now with real problems, and work out the smallest steps that you can take, and find the people that make you your best self, and be the best self for everyone else. And the reason for that is because today is actually tomorrow. Thank you.